Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Red Sea podcast. Welcome back to a show that's going to be focused on a lot of transfers, a show that's going to be focused on latest developments and all that because we have quite a few things to talk about positive, negative, and quite surprising, especially on the football side of things. This is gonna be after a while. This is gonna be a very FC focused episode. But aside from that, I hope you all are having a good day, night, or everything in between, depending on when you're listening. As always, if you're new, all the links you need are down below. And if you want to check our socials out, you may as well subscribe. It helps a whole lot. And as always, on every solo show, lines are open. Whether you're listening to this now or after, you can keep this information for a future show. The link that's on the screen right here can be copied. And if you copy that into Google, you can join me live. You don't need a camera, you just need a microphone, and you're free to come out here and discuss any topic you may want. Now, I want to get straight into things because we have new developments. We have new transfer situations as two new scenarios have been going around ever since this morning as we are talking about Paraguay's World Cup hero, Orlando Hill, and also Joaquin, also the left back from Sevilla. Of course, actually both stories, I was going to say the second story has a lot of connections, but both stories are very well connected with Olympiacos and are probably connected with departures. So starting off, let's get into them both. First things first, Orlando Hill. Of course, at least I guess that most of us have watched World Cup football. We're talking about more or less the hero of Paraguay, a very promising goalkeeper, and we have sent an offer out for him, and the one of, if not the most important thing in this deal is that we have a special someone representing the player. And that special someone that is representing the player is none other than legend and very well-known Olympiacos fan now, Javier Saviola. Javier Saviola represents the young keeper and he is playing a massive role in this deal, possibly being completed, as of course he still has an excellent relationship with both Olympiacos and Vangelis Marinakis. Now, quite the sad thing in regards to this deal is that we're basically slowly getting confirmation that it's very possible that Konstantinos Tzolakis will not be an Olympiacos player next season, as the interest is ramping up, as the players' representatives have said that they will bring a very big offer on the table for the player. You can't really blame any party in this situation, if we're being honest. Even if the truth of the matter is that Tzolakis wants to go, you can't really blame the guy for wanting to take a step up in his career. It will be a massive loss. I'm not disputing that in any way, shape, or form. And I truly was hoping that we would keep him. But I know that in football, situations like that sometimes seem impossible. But the ongoing situation is looking like Konstantinos Tzolakis is set to go. Now, if we take into account that Tzolakis will be sold, also worth noting that the Greek goalkeeper has not renewed his contract with Olympiacos yet. If Konstantinos Tzolakis is to go, the Paraguayan is honestly probably as ideal of a replacement as you can get. Of course, another name on the table was Jose Sa, the well-known, very loved Olympiacos legend, Jose Sa. But as things stand, if we have to get into the conversation of who will replace Konstantinos Tzolakis, I would give Hill a bit of an edge, given he has a lot more promise to him. He is coming off a wonderful tournament, as of course he played a major part in Paraguay, getting much further than anyone thought. Of course, Paraguay lost to the team that's more than likely going to be world champions. I would give the man from Paraguay the edge as the quote-unquote as ideal of a replacement as you can get for Konstantinos Tzolakis. I am worried, to be totally honest, not only for the quality of the goalkeeper that we're losing, but for the fact that we're losing one more Greek. Some reports came out yesterday that we will get into in a bit, but as a standalone case and where we are right now, especially with the qualifiers coming up, mind you, a gentle reminder that we will know who will face in the Champions League qualifiers next Monday on the 20th. And yeah, it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing with the list. You don't know how the squad will be. There's a lot of people on their way. Of course, we will talk a bit about Joel Roca, who is considered a done deal now, at least to a majority of Greek and Spanish media. But yeah, we're getting closer and closer to a very vital point of the season. We're getting closer and closer to the technical start of the season, and a lot of stuff needs to be cleared up. Now, for the second case that came up today, a very, very interesting case. I will be reading you an article from Sport Witness that summarizes everything up, more or less. Of course, we are talking about Joaquin Oso, the left back from Sevilla. The article starts by saying Nottingham Forest have moved from interest to concrete action in the pursuit of Joaquin Oso. However, the defender's future has quickly become more complicated. Earlier this Tuesday, we covered reports from Spain explaining that Oliver Glasner's side had re-emerged strongly in the race for the left back. They held direct talks with Sevilla, and they were hoping to take advantage of Fiorentina's failure to submit a formal proposal. First asterisk here, Fiorentina was a big player to actually take Joaquin Oso from Sevilla, but as far as I understand, they can't. As I'm pretty sure they still haven't been able to put forward an actual proposal for the transfer of the left back. And then, of course, according to El Desmarque, citing journalist Alonso Rivero, Nottingham Forest submitted an opening offer worth around 6 million euros for Oso. Sevilla immediately rejected the proposal as they value the 23-year-old at around 15 million. And that's where I'm kind of surprised, because almost immediately, at least, journalist Luca Bendoni, who is reliable, this man is a writer for Di Marzio, who is arguably the most reliable Italian journalist after Fabrizio Romano. According to him, Sevilla and the Marinakis group have now reached a verbal agreement worth around 6 million plus add-ons for Oso. It's not clear on who made the offer. It's not clear if it's Nottingham. It's not clear if it's us. Or it's not clear if it's the group doing business. Despite Nottingham Forest's long-standing interest, the Italian journalist states that the Spaniard is expected to join Olympiacos instead, even though he remains a candidate for the Premier League club. The situation does look a bit unusual, and as the article states as well, whether there are significant bonuses involved, whether the deal structure differs from the proposal discussed by the Spanish media, or whether the move is part of a wider multi-club strategy has not yet been made clear. As things stand, I would be hesitant. I would be quite hesitant in regards to this whole story, not because it seems unbelievable, because it still seems very complicated. And even if you take it by heart, even if you take it as it is, we're still talking about a verbal agreement. Nothing has been put on paper. So I would suggest patience. I would suggest a wait and see mentality about this whole thing until at least we know something more concrete. If we start seeing consistent reports, or if we see something like a done deal, then I think it's worth talking about even more. But for now, for both cases, as positive as they are, I think it's worth waiting. And I will use this as a very good segue to go to yesterday's reports by Nikos Kotsis. An article came out last night, as usual, the after midnight Nikos Kotsis transfer update that basically solidified reports from Argentina that River Plate are still pursuing Olympiacos left back Francisco Ortega. Of course, the reported asking price for Ortega by Olympiacos still stands around 6 million. River Plate had put out an official offer which had been rejected earlier this summer, but they've come back. Olympiacos did not completely close the door on them. They did open the door for further discussions. And I think the most noteworthy thing to keep from the report is the fact that the new ownership and technical staff of River Plate has presented a project to Francisco Ortega that has made the return to Argentina seem in a very, very positive light in his eyes, as the report stood until around a month ago, some weeks ago, that Francisco Ortega did not want to move back to Argentina this early. Do I think this deal will go through? Probably. It really seems like the interest is very concrete. It really seems like River Plate will come back with a second official offer, and it really seems like Francisco Ortega will be sold this summer. Along with Francisco Ortega, of course, there's Bruno. Bruno Niamachi really hasn't had any rumors circle around his name yet, but his future in Olympiacos is certainly not something given, as Olympiacos are looking in the Greek market for left backs and right backs. Names that were mentioned, of course, were those of forementioned many times by now Dimitris Giannoulis, as media in Germany have linked the player with Olympiacos once again, and media in Germany have said that despite the player having started pre-season with Augsburg, nothing really seems done in regards to him leaving and coming back to Greece. And of course, we know that PAOK never reached an agreement with Augsburg. PAOK, of course, are the other major player in regards to the transfer of Dimitris Giannoulis. The other name that was linked with Olympiacos in regards to the left back position is well known and beloved Kostas Tsimikas. Of course, there is really mixed reports in regards to Tsimikas and his future in England, in Merseyside, and in Liverpool, as early summer reports had basically given his stay in Merseyside as a backup to Milos Kerkez a guarantee, but later reports say that that's not the case. While Iraola likes Tsimikas, and while Iraola wants to see all the players in pre-season, Liverpool will certainly not stand in the way of Kostas Tsimikas if he wants to leave and if a satisfying offer comes in. That's at least according to English media. Do I see the return of Tsimikas as a possibility? Hopefully. As much as the logical scenario would really be him staying at Liverpool, I think this is the first summer in which I'm saying it's possible and it's not just a rumor. But we'll see. Again, same with the last two names we talked about. I'd wait. I wouldn't jump into any conclusions, and I'd wait as much as possible, at least. And of course, the other two names and the other position that was mentioned in last night's reports were two Greek names, once again, and the position was the right back position. As up to now, the right back position has been filled by Pablo Maffeo and academy player Yorgos Tsiolakis. Tsiolakis, of course, has been deemed, rightfully so, as one of the most talented right backs in the country, but he needs time. We can't expect Tsiolakis, who, mind you, is 17, to play a major role in the team reconquering the title and managing what hopefully will be a Champions League campaign. And with the need of Olympiacos to mix Greek players with experience, there's two names on the table. And the first one really seems to be high on the list. The first one is someone we have been, quote unquote, recommending for months now, and that, of course, is former St. Pauli player Manolis Tzolakis. But not former, not yet. Tzolakis will more than likely go. He will leave the relegated German side. And Olympiacos are monitoring his case, and I wouldn't really be surprised if we put out an official offer in the coming days. In my eyes, feel free to comment about it, whether you're listening however long after. I really think that Tzolakis is the perfect backup, even when the name of now Panathinaikos player Tsapras was going around. I still said that I prefer Tzolakis, and I still do. I think that as a backup to Pablo Maffeo, he could really challenge him to be the best player he can, and he could put in certain minutes without being considered a risk, especially in the majority of the Greek league. And above all that as well, he's not just a homegrown player, he is one of us. He has been raised in the Olympiacos academies, and bringing back a player that knows the club inside and out and allowing them to have a role, even if that's the role of backup right back, is never a bad idea, at least in my eyes. And speaking of a player that knows the club inside and out, Marios Vrusai, the Greek Albanian, may come back. It doesn't seem as concrete of interest as with the case of Manolis Tzolakis. But of course, the I was going to say the right back, but the multi-positional player that is Marius Vrusai has been having some incredible seasons over at Rio Ave, has become one of the most beloved players right now in that club and has gained a lot of experience. And I am mostly saying this for the people that immediately heard Marius Vrusai and thought of the player he was 4 or 5 years ago. Marius is not that player anymore. He is a way more improved, way better and way more composed player. And if the club deems him to be the perfect backup to Pablo Maffeo, it's not as bad of a choice as some people present it to be. Even though, again, if I had to speak of personal preference, I would talk about Tzolakis even more. And I am going to throw out a name of my own out there as well. If an offer, a satisfying offer, comes in for Bruno, I would, even though I have heard from some people that the club would never look at him, I would love if we brought back Lekoyannis. Bringing him back to Greece as a backup to, again, this is really a hypothetical, but let's say we get either Giannoulis or Tsimikas. If we manage to have a Greek pairing once again after what would have been Tsimikas and Koutris, and it would certainly be a quality upgrade. I really think that we're talking about an ideal scenario, in my eyes at least. If we go from the situation we were in last year to 3 out of the 4 right backs being players with passports outside of the EU, to 3 of the 4 left backs, not left backs, full backs being Greeks, that situation at least would be handled perfectly. And that would be the cherry on top into perfect planning on the defensive end. I know there is still a situation with Lorenzo Pirola and his possible sale, but we'll get to that if we have to. As things stand, at least, again, I'm lifting my hands up very highly, at least if the reported scenarios come through, at least the defensive planning has been very good. Again, as things stand on the 14th of July, there's still a long way to go for things to either go way more right or way more wrong. Now, speaking of wrong, I want to talk about this for a minute. I want to share some thoughts. Of course, Petar Stanic, as we learned yesterday, even though some more conflicting reports that I didn't really have time to fact check came back today, Petar Stanic is basically a deal not even worth paying attention to right now, as it seems this case has been more or less abandoned. It's sad in a way that we were really talking about a very promising player. Of course, he was the top scorer of the Europa League last season. But it's conflicting. Because on one end, you constantly were reading reports of, agreement with the team, with the player, then problems with the team, then the player, then the agent, then this and that. I am always inclined to believe the team rather than the reporters in this situation. And I'm not taking a dig at anyone here. I don't want this to be seen as a dig at anyone. But when the team comes out and says that, and the team has come out and said this twice, when the team comes out and says that, no, we haven't had any agreements, neither with Ludogorets nor with Petr Stanic, you kind of have to wonder what we've been reading about for the past month and a half. I'm not saying the past month and a half went to waste, of course. A lot of things were done, but you kind of struggle on what to believe. And again, I've said this to you all many times, I'll say it again. I'm not an insider. I'm not a reporter. I'm just a 22-year-old kid doing this because I love it. So with the whole Petr Stanic situation, I was in a bit of the same pickle as you all. And I want to pose a question. Why doesn't one person come out and say this and this happened? Because I feel like that would clear up a whole lot of confusion, at least, and players getting lost for whatever reason happen. It happens. I think what bothered the team, not the team, what bothered the fans this much is how dragged out this case got. And that's not the team's issue in a way, because the team just can't go out and tell all the media just to shut up. But clear communication, I feel like, would have made the backlash, again, quote unquote, from this case smaller. I'm not gonna throw out any theories. I'm not gonna throw out any conspiracy or anything like that. It's just sad that we lost a quality player. But if the team does go on to get something better in the box-to-box role, it would be the best case scenario to communicate everything much more clearly. At least in my fun point of view, right? I don't really want to get into this case a lot because it is a lot in and of itself, but that's how things stand right now. It's worth mentioning that an earlier report from Gazeta talked about. That's the information that I sent that I didn't really have time to fact check yet. I've been told, at least at an earlier report from Gazeta, talked about how the president of Ludogorets said that negotiations in this matter aren't really dead. But again, I would lean towards trusting the team, and I say that we move. That's my main conclusion from this situation, and we'll see as things go on. Of course, reports yesterday as well cleared out the whole situation with Antonio Cordon. A story that really didn't start making sense from the beginning, either way, as quoting the boys from Thrylos 7, I never really expected to talk about a possible return of Antonio Cordon. And in the end, it seems like negotiations didn't go well. And Antonio Cordon will not be returning to Olympiacos. Someone that will be at Olympiacos next season, though, is Joel Roca. Joel, I still don't know how to pronounce his name. Do correct me, someone, if I'm completely wrong. But as reports have said, Roca will be an Olympiacos player next season, as he has asked to join Olympiacos. He has expressed his desire to play under Jose Luis Mendilibar. And of course, Girona wouldn't stand in his way. The rumored agreement between the two clubs stands at around 5 million plus bonuses, and Roca's contract will reportedly run until 2031. A 5-year deal, probably deserved. Of course, the Spaniards do hold a sell-on clause for the young winger. We don't know how much that is yet, but a long-term contract, well-deserved. Honestly, I don't know much about the player. I will do my proper research and come back to you all so we can discuss it properly once he's officially announced by the club. But he's been locked down, and I do believe that he will prove a lot of people wrong. I do really, really believe that, especially if he is a suggestion of Jose Luis Mendilibar. And the last thing in regards to football that I want to talk about as I look away and check Twitter for any possible updates in the situations that were happening is an update about a youngster, which is always very, 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 I can't add enough varies to the good to hear. Because actually, seeing that it's very possible for one of our academy kids to have a role in the first team this season is a surprising positive, honestly. And of course, if you haven't seen the reports and if you haven't caught on, the man that I am talking about is Christos Tzolakis. The very talented, very impressive midfielder has reportedly impressed Mendilibar a lot, which has led to the club renewing him until 2030. And it's already rumored, it's a certainty that Phillies will follow the rest of the team into phase 2 of pre-season, but it's also already reported that Thrylos will follow the first team after pre-season as well and have a role along the regular season, while also flipping between the B team to be prepared every time he gets called up for the senior team, the men's team. Seeing Thrylos actually get a chance here, for me, is more of a positive than people think in many ways. Of course, we knew how talented the kid is from last season in the youth league. He is a very special midfielder. He has a lot of positives to his game. But aside from the obvious thing of how nice it is to see an academy, quote unquote, graduate to get a role with the team, it also helps with the UEFA list as well. If Thrylos does get enough of a role in the first team and gets into the UEFA list, we'll have way less of a problem than we knew that we would. Yes, Thrylos is reportedly set to be renewed with a proper contract until 2030. A massive deal, honestly. We remind you that a few weeks ago, or days, I don't know. I think it's weeks by now. It was rumored that Yorgos would also sign a professional contract sign the professional contract to be locked down by the team, as he had major interest as well from outside the country. And you see this trend, quote unquote, this very positive phenomenon that we are giving a lot of our academy graduates professional contracts and giving them roles in the B team as they deserve to have. As of course, the B team will have a lot of changes this season as well. We haven't really talked about it because I personally am waiting to see the full picture in regards to the B team. But a lot of people have already left, with the most notable and weird departure from the B team being our beloved Mathieu Valbuena, going to play in the second tier of Malta, of all places, at the age of 43, I think. But yeah, the B team is going to be used even better than it was last season, and having a coach like that from the beginning is going to help the whole squad and possibly give more chances to more players within the season. Now, speaking of renewals, I want to put up a very, very quick parenthesis and talk about the basketball. Of course, tomorrow there will be the automatic renewal of the +1 options of Corey Joseph, Thomas Walkup, and Tyler Dorsey. Now, this is a bit of a clusterfuck because there is still no clear outcome to either of the main two renewals. Of course, we've known for a while, we have gladly told you a bit early that Corey Joseph will reportedly, at the very least, until it's officially announced, be an Olympiacos player next season as well. And now the other two. it's two very similar cases that are going much differently. It really looks like Tyler Dorsey will renew with Olympiacos. It really looks like that situation has been handled with nothing but respect from both sides, and very happily as well, because Tyler Dorsey was a master. Like, let's not lie to ourselves here. The man's Greek. The man has things and positives to his game that no one else in Europe does, and he was a master. And it really looks like he's gonna stay. Now, Thomas Roca, as we said in the last show, the whole situation really seemed. Let me open my light. I'm sorry about your eyes for a while until this focuses again. We're good. I hope we're good. But as I was saying, this situation has been fishy for a while. Ever since that interview, and as things stand, again, on the 14th of July, I think that this situation does not turn around. I really think it's very, very hard to imagine Thomas Roca as an Olympiacos player next season. But I want to say a couple of things, because we have heard a couple of things. Thomas Roca is a player that has given the world and then some to Olympiacos, but also Thomas Roca is a player that has been very much helped by Yorgos Barzokas. Thomas Roca has played through injuries, has suffered a lot of injuries in Olympiacos, fought through them and came back even better. And Thomas Roca has been one of the pillars of the new Barzokas era up to now, at least of this cycle. Doesn't really seem like it will be of the next one as well. But sadly, everyone chooses how they will be remembered. I don't think anyone will really be able to say that what Thomas gave to Olympiacos gets erased, because it doesn't. But he is certainly living, if he lives, again, nothing certain, but if he lives, he is certainly living in a much worse way than he would have deserved. Thomas Roca decided to pressure the team, and in hindsight, that interview really seems like a backhanded way of asking to go. And he will be living in a very sour way with a very sour taste. And sadly, the majority of Olympiacos fans, if he lives like that, will put an asterisk to everything he's given, and sadly, a lot of the appreciation he would have deserved would be gone. Now, there is still a chance that he renews. I'm not saying that there isn't, but I personally don't see a way of it happening. We'll see. We'll know in the next few days for sure. There's no doubt in my mind that we'll know in the next few days. I saw this. I talked about this earlier. There's nothing concrete on Manolis Tzolakis. Do go back to see what I said in detail, but he's definitely very high on Olympiacos watch list, per se. And I personally would expect an offer, us learning about an offer in the next few days, but nothing more, at least up to now. And the last two things that I do want to say, let me actually get something up because I do not want to mess up her name because we did get an incredible player in the women's water polo department, and again, I really don't want to mess up her name. It is Kata Haidu. Kata Haidu, of course, is one of the most talented girls in this sport, having spent several successive seasons in UVSE, and of course, having won a lot of things with her country, Hungary. Last season, she was the club's top scorer in the Champions League, which of course Olympiacos won, netting 22 goals. With her national team, she has won a silver medal at the European Championship in February, a silver medal at the World Championship in 2025, a silver medal at the World Cup of 2025. She has won gold in the Junior World Championship of 2023 and gold at the Youth European Championship of 2023. She is an incredible wing. I forgot to change the banner. I apologize. She's an incredible wing. And again, I'll say what I said over on socials. A team that pulled off a perfect season added one of the most talented girls in Europe. I think if you do 1 + 1, it will equal to 2. This team will be back where they left off, and these girls will do us proud once again. For that, be certain. I'm so excited to see Kata play. She's amazing. I would recommend, especially if you're not that familiar with water polo, I would recommend looking at her highlights. You'll be very impressed. And the last addition I do want to talk about is Konstantinos Limarakis. Konstantinos Limarakis was announced earlier today as the new addition to the goalkeeping position in the men's water polo department. Of course, he was playing for Apollon Smyrni, and he is an addition to an already incredible duo. There is nothing official in any of them leaving yet, but do expect anything, as always. But as things stand, the men's water polo department has 3 incredibly great goalkeepers, and we'll see how stuff continues And I will leave you off with a message about the Erasitechni. If you're not watching in general, if you haven't gotten into those sports, if you haven't given the Erasitechni a chance, please go do so. Buy a fan card if you have the funds. If you don't, watch the sport. Watch the teams. Olympiacos is the biggest multi-sport organization in Europe for a reason. We are champions everywhere. We have talent everywhere. We have quality everywhere. And I am asking you to give the entirety of Olympiacos a chance. Because trust me, it's more than worth it. It's way more than worth it. And it means a lot to each department, especially departments that don't get 14 to 32,000 fans every game. And that's where I leave you all off. I hope I didn't forget anything. If I did, we'll cover it next show. I appreciate your support so much more than I can put into any words. The summer has been very, very, very big up to now, and will continue even better as we get into a very, very chaotic end of July and start of August. As always, I'll see you in the next one. I will probably be back on Friday. If I'm not back on Friday, I will be back on Saturday. I will announce everything on socials as usual. Yes, exactly. This is a perfect comment to end on. It's now clear that the Erasitechnis Olympiacos is building something very strong and something designed to last. Yes. The Erasitechni has always been on top. There's the reason the chant is there. There's the reason we have 348 titles to our name. And that's only counting the big five of sports. That's not counting the other sports Olympiacos is dominating, like swimming, boxing, and stuff like that. But there's a reason those 348 legit titles exist. And we're not counting chess like some others. The Erasitechni will always be on top. And even if we have 1 or 2 bad years with the support of the fans, we'll always bounce back. I'll see you all in the next one after you have gifted me that perfect ending, where we'll certainly have a lot more stuff to talk about. As always, thank you.